Hi, this is Ken Kerschbaumer. I'm here with Tiana Trumpa from Deutsche Telekom. She is the 5G product manager. Welcome. Thank you for joining us and appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So 5G is the hottest topic in the world, just about. So, and I'm from America, we're here in the UK, but what's the update on as far as 5G rollout within Germany and what do you see as the potential?
In Germany, we just launched our 5G network in September this year, 2019. And we started with clusters in 5 cities in Germany, so Berlin, Cologne, Bonn, Darmstadt, and Munich, and we're rolling out as we speak and covering 2 more cities still this year, Hamburg and Leipzig. And then we are pretty ambitious in terms of really covering area, and especially the pop coverage should rise. By 2025, we've committed to covering 99% of the population with 5G.
Wow.
So there's still a lot ahead of us there.
Sure. So I know I've seen some really cool applications in the broadcast world with 5G at sports events. The NBA used it for actually producing, extra camera feeds passed back, and I guess it was used for the Berlin Marathon. So can you discuss that a little bit, that project and how that came about?
Yeah, so the Berlin Marathon, it's one of the biggest marathons in the world and fastest actually. And it happened end of September this year, so that was only a few weeks after we launched our network, but we decided early on this year that we wanted to tap into the potential there in media broadcasting and just give it a go in the commercial network, just do an early proof of concept, just test it. Like you mentioned, the potential in terms of adding extra cameras and using 5G network for the uplink for those professional cameras, as well as playing around with user-generated content, so adding some smartphones along the track and just seeing how that sort of feed would come out. And yeah, that worked pretty well actually in the end. So we still had some challenges there because we haven't covered all the LTE sites with 5G just yet.
Right.
So we had to check that most of the cameras actually use the few 5G antennas in that particular area along the track.
Right.
But whenever we made sure that we had 5G coverage, it worked pretty well. So that gives me the idea that I should keep working on that topic and that there's a lot more potential out there.
Sure. So what do how do you think broadcasters should approach it then? Because I know some of them are excited about using this as a way to replace some of the other RF transmission methods, or to simply, like here in the stadium, to deploy some 5G cells, and you can have dedicated bandwidth to cameras and not have to wire cameras. So what do you see as the big picture here for the broadcasters and 5G?
I think as far as I understand the customer need now, and that's what I want to understand even better, so from the broadcasting side, they need guaranteed bandwidth. That's the key, the reliability, the stability. So they want the constant, stable connection. That's the only way you could really replace something.
Right.
Being able to rely on that bandwidth. So that's still a little bit further away down the line with network slicing. Coming up in a few years. We're already working on that, but it's obviously not a finished product that we can offer right now. But that's why we're doing all these projects together with our own broadcasting in Germany in different sports, as well as the Berlin Marathon. With other broadcasting companies, we're talking a lot now about what they really need there, because then I think if they get the reliable bandwidth for certain events, then it can really be a game changer in terms of replacing current infrastructure for them.
Right. So one of the interesting things is, as I've started, it is a very popular topic of discussion right now, which means it can get overhyped. Right.
Yeah.
So, what should consumers expect? What is the challenge, and what should consumers expect as far as the real world? How this is going to change the way they can consume content and tap into high quality video and those sorts of things?
It's still there's only so much bandwidth and capacity in one location. So if we look at a stadium like here, you still have to share this physical resource. That's
right.
where the bottleneck is basically. So with 5G there we will make a huge step because there's a lot more capacity with massive MIMO. And so if you put a lot of 5G antennas around a stadium, there's huge potential in terms of capacity, but it's still a limited resource. So the way we then give certain parts of that bandwidth to the consumers for consuming, like you said, high quality videos or 360 content and so on, as well as giving certain bandwidth to then the contribution side. That's where we have to be careful, I think, to really learn who needs what at what time and how can we make the most of that resource.
Right. So what's the challenge? I know you deployed in cities, because it's a very dense deployment for 5G. But so what's the challenge in the rural communities, right, where if you're living in a farm and near cities 20 kilometers away, as far as the number of cells to get to that point, what do you see as kind of the challenge of the rural versus city deployments?
Well, 5G, as we are rolling it out in Germany right now on the frequencies where we are rolling it out, currently starting in a 3.6 gigahertz spectrum, and then starting from next year also 2.1 gigahertz. It's really more targeted for dense areas, so it's like a layer on top of LTE. So far 5G is a non-standalone network, so you really just put it in addition to your LTE network. I mean, standalone might come at some point as well, but that's why we're really targeting more densely populated areas, and which doesn't mean that the rollout also for fiber in general and for LTE, that doesn't stop. So it's not one or the other. It's really just something in addition there. So I think for the rural areas, it's also really important to close all the white spots there and not stop with a 4G rollout as well.
Sure, excellent. Well, great. Well, thank you for your time. It's exciting. I know the world is waiting to see how this is all going to go. So I really appreciate your time, and good luck with the rollout.
Thank you.
Thank you.